All right, thank you so much. All right, so we are in chapter 4. Before I get into chapter 4, I just want to ask if there are any questions. Does anyone have any questions about anything? I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys time to ask questions, because afterwards I always get, I have a question, but okay, no one has a question. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, quick question. How many of you have a LinkedIn account? Give me a thumbs up if you have a LinkedIn account. See, 1, 2. Okay, just 2 people. Okay. How many of you have any form of social media? Give me a thumbs up if you have any form of social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Okay. So most of you, oh, I think I actually see a few people. Oh, almost all of us. Okay, very good. Now, give me another thumbs up if you would characterize yourself as being active on online, whatever it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever you're at. Give me a thumbs up if you consider yourself an active user, meaning that you log on at least once a day. Okay. Just 2. Okay, 3. Okay. All right. Believe it or not, many companies are also active online users. Why do you think companies are so active online? Anybody want to give me a guess? Do you think it's for promotion? Thumbs up if you think it's for promotion. Looking for employees. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's for looking for employees. Mm-hmm. Both would be right. Companies are all, see, think of it this way. Those of you that are old enough to remember pre-online, pre-social media, companies would have to pay. Who would they have to pay? They would have to pay a television service, radio, print media to get any of your attention. They would have to do billboards, they would have to do like, magazine layouts, newspaper ads. And the problem with a lot of those options is what we call one-way communication. What does that mean? That means that they weren't able to have feedback, right? So they would print something, you would either buy it, you would notice it, and then they would wait. They would wait to see if it showed up in their sales. And then that's how they would know months and months later if what they did, whether it was that TV ad, that radio ad, um, was productive. And so they would spend tons and tons of money doing that, right? Obviously, the most expensive is online, is television rather. When social media came on, then think about it. Now companies can just post their own social media account. They used to have websites, and websites were cool because they could track the traffic that went to their website, and you could leave a message and things of that nature. But it was still pretty much one-way communication. With social media, it has allowed companies to engage with their consumers, but also with employees, with people that just have, you know, questions or curiosity about their product, with advocates, and it's become two-way communication. And guess what? It's free. So what company would not want to engage freely, right? I don't have to pay for a newspaper ad. I don't have to pay for a television slot. I can just go on to social media and engage with consumers. I can go on social media and I can find my employees, right? Isn't that not This the most economical way for businesses. And social media didn't start out that way. It wasn't what it was designed for, but hey, I'm not mad at businesses. It's one of the quickest ways for them to engage. And nowadays, what do? They hire social media influencers to help promote their products. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money doing that. So, what does that have to do with you? A lot of you, you may not have considered it, but will be able to find jobs just using social media. How many people have ever found a job using social media of some sort? It could be LinkedIn. It could be I see a few thumbs up. Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Right? Am I saying to you that you need an online presence? Uh, at some point. At some point, you are going to need an online presence. Now, you may not need an online presence to get your first job, but as a career person, the expectation, unfortunately, nowadays is that you have some type of online presence. Now, the one that we typically use for professionals is LinkedIn. So in this course, we ask you to set up a LinkedIn account. If social media is not your thing, you can set it up, take a picture of it, get your points, and you can delete it. I am going to recommend that you keep it. Now, obviously you can set up a LinkedIn account, and if you don't use it, then, it's not going to hurt you or help you in either way, but it's not going to hurt you, right? With LinkedIn, you don't have to put that much information about yourself. Obviously you're not going to tell someone where you live and all that kind of stuff. But if you are looking for a job, some companies will want to know if you're at least in their geographic area, but we'll talk a lot more about that. So what I want to talk to you about is this idea of having an online presence. And we'll also talk about, some of the safety concerns associated with that. But it is very, very critical that you start to think about your online presence. And you may ask yourself, why do I need an online presence? Well, you need an online presence for the same reason that companies need one, to promote yourself. A lot of HR people will Google you to see who you are, right? It's very common nowadays, not because they think that you're, some crazy person, but because they want to know what type of professional history do you have outside of just your resume. Most people think or of are they are of the mind that if you are a true professional and what you say is true on your resume, then you are promoting yourself online, because why would you not, right? Why would you not want people to see and be able to connect with you on a professional level? So it is very common for that to be the standard, right? So again, why is an online presence good? Well, it's a great way for you to maintain a positive presence of yourself. It's important for you in the job search process. It's important for you in building your career. And we'll dig into the Twitters, unfortunately, and the Instagrams as well, right? So, personal online presence, right? A job seeker should evaluate your online presence. Um, it is one of the first steps in today's society of the job search process. So when we talk about and presence, what does that mean? Well, that means any of those things. It means not just having an account, but guess what? It also means anytime you post something. Has anyone ever posted on Twitter? Give me a thumbs up if you've ever posted on Twitter. Or have you ever did a response to someone, or maybe you've, uh, you know, liked someone's photo. Like maybe you don't even consider yourself a poster. Well, that sounded funny. Someone that posts, right? But one thing that you want to be mindful of is anything you put online has a digital footprint. What do we mean by that? What that means is from whether you make a response on Yahoo or over some type of what you call it, article about politics, and you decide to respond to it, or you tweet out something, or you like something on Instagram or whatever, you go on to Facebook and you set up a membership. Everything that you do online has a digital footprint. What that means is you've left your footprint somewhere on those websites. And if someone were interested in tracking you, they could, right? Not to get all crazy about it. Most people are not going to be tracked, but it is possible. So everything you post is possible. Now, I will tell you this, as you get up in your career, people will do searches on you. They will pay to have searches done on you just to make sure. I mean, can you imagine if someone's going to hire you for a senior level position, they may want to do a search on you to make sure they know who they're hiring, right? Now, some people may say that, well, that's no one's business, but then you have to ask yourself, we've all seen in the social media where people have gotten fired because of some of their online presence. Has anyone ever seen that in the news? Give me a thumbs up if you have. And let me ask you this, right? I don't know how you would feel about it, but let's just say, how many of you have children? Anybody have kids? Am I the only person with a child? No one has kids. Okay, I was about to say no one has kids. Okay, but I guess I need to go to the second page here. So how would you feel? And tell me if you would care or you wouldn't care. We'll start with I would care first. Let's just say you had a kid and their teacher had an online presence. And I'm going to let you finish the rest of that because I think you know where we're going with that. This was in the news, by the way. How many of you would care? Mrs. Thomas, your second grade teacher, give me a thumbs up if that would be a problem for you. Because if it's her personal business, it's outside of school. But would you want your kid to stumble upon Mrs. Thomas' online presence, we'll say? So would it matter? It would matter to some people. Give me a thumbs up if you don't think it would matter to you. Just curious. If you feel, hey, what Miss Thomas does after she teaches social studies is not my business, right? All right. Now, that's an extreme case, and people do lose their jobs. Why do I bring that up? You have to be careful if you are online because your company could care what you post on social media, right? That does not say, and I know some people may say, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have one at all. Well, it's like having credit. Not having credit is just as bad as having bad credit. You need credit. You need an online presence. You just want it to be positive. Now, I know some of you may be like, oh, shoot, maybe you're a very political person and you've posted some stuff. It's okay, because what we're going to talk about today is how to reduce some of that personal stuff and replace it with professional stuff. Not to say that you can't have a personal preference, but what I am going to encourage you to do is to have two separate accounts. You should have a professional account and then you should have a personal account. Now, I'm still going to impress upon you to be careful, because once you become a professional and you start working for other people, you have to put yourself in that company's shoes, especially if you are someone of note, manager, director, and up. They are going to care, how what you do, represents them. Put yourself, if you had your own business, and many of you are wanting to go into business for yourself, you're going to need an online presence. What I would suggest you do is, think about what you want to be in your career plan. Some of you have said that you want to start your own business. Some of you said that maybe you want to be like a master electrician. and and work your way up to the top. Well, working your way up to the top means that you're going to be in some type of executive position. Working your way up to the top, I've heard some of you say you want to have longevity in your careers. Well, that means that you're going to be in leadership. You're not going to be, I mean, I guess you just, unless you choose to, right? But you're not going to be a technician forever, right? You're going to be, unfortunately, in a suit and tie. You're going to be a button-up guy at some point if you decide to stay at one company for long enough. Maybe that's good for some and not for others. But the point is, you will have a presence that you have to protect, and the company is going to want you to protect. Again, if you own your own business, you definitely are going to need an online presence. What that presence looks like depends on you. If you're going to be the button-up guy at some point, then maybe you want to think about, okay, how do I want to promote myself? Do I want to be the subject matter expert? Do I want to create an online account that talks about all things welding? Maybe your account is, being the go-to, account for everything that's happening in the Central Florida area with the welding industry. That would be a really cool, persona to have online, Tom the welder guy or something like that. And you just post what's happening in the welding industry just to build up some type of presence, or maybe you want to be the person that is the subject matter expert in electrical. Maybe that's your online persona, and you do a lot of did you know this is happening in the electrical industry, the AI in the electrical industry, and that could be your persona. Or if you just want to have your professional persona with you, and you just post all the cool things that you're doing in your career, you're going to need something as an online presence at some point. I say the sooner the better, because a lot, like I said, and I've worked in HR, I've trained HR professionals. Many of them will try to find you somewhere online to see, do you really want them to just find personal stuff? I'm just asking, right? Is that what you want them to find? Not that they're going to hire private investigators, but I'm just saying, some HR people are really savvy and they will do that. I had a CEO where she always Googled people. I thought it was a little weird, but that's what she did. And so I just want to prepare you for today's tech world. And that is very, very common. So I say, at the very minimum, start to post things about your career. What that will do, that'll at least put the algorithm of some of the stuff, maybe if you are a little bit political, put that, suppress it a little bit, because typically what happens is whatever you post on the front end is what people see. That is going to be my suggestion to you, that if your online presence is only personal, to start putting some professional career related stuff in your post. If you don't have an online presence, then that's great. So you can start from scratch and you can create whatever kind of persona that you want. But think about it. If you are an employer, and let's say you have two candidates and you just kind of want to Google them to see what's what, and maybe you go to Instagram, maybe you go to LinkedIn, who are you going to be more impressed with? Someone that you can't find? Or let's say you find Tom, the tech guy, and he has all these cool things about tech and about electrical and tech. What would you think? Give me a thumbs up if you think that would be a positive image, right? If you're the HR person, you're finding Tom, the tech guy, and he has all these positive things, would that not be, would you not think favorably upon that person? Yes or no? Give me a thumbs up if you say yes. Yeah, you probably would, right? And that's just human nature, right? I don't know any of you. I don't know any of the candidates, but if I'm seeing Tom, the electric guy, and he's posting all this cool stuff, I'm going to think that the guy is serious about his profession. And that's all you want them to think. You don't want to build some crazy weird persona about yourself, but you do want, if they find anything about you, let it be professional, please. Um, Even in your signature block nowadays, you may see people in their email. You can put that in your email now, whether it's a Yahoo, a Gmail account. Give you a little signature block. There's nothing wrong with putting your first and last name. And, how many of you have ever done that in your email? Especially if I'm emailing someone professionally, if they send me something personally, I put a signature block in my personal email, right? Just so it can even start that professional look, that professional process, right? You want people to start thinking of you based on your profession. That's the image you want to put out, right? So put that signature block. I wouldn't necessarily put my phone number unless it's someone that you want to have your phone number. Like I said, maybe it's a job or something professional. There's nothing wrong with putting that, but putting your first and last name and, you know, whatever degree you have is very common, very common. You see it all the time, right? Putting whatever degree you have is, something that I would suggest that you start to do. All right. Now, another big thing that you have to do to build your career, especially for you guys that are going up that career ladder, which I've seen some people say, is network. That's the other big thing for having an online presence. You have to network is one of the reasons why we wanted you to do the elevator pitch. What is networking? Back in my day, we used to call it happy hour. Anybody ever heard of that? Don't make me feel like an old lady. Anybody ever heard of a happy hour? Don't leave me out here hanging. No one's ever heard of happy hour. But happy hour, thank you so much. I really appreciate the participation. Brian, thank you. Happy hour is something us older folks used to do after work. And when you would be required to go to happy hour. It's not like nowadays, or I guess I don't even know if they still have it. You would take your business cards and at 5 o'clock to 5 to 7, right before it's time to go home for dinner, you would go to, some lounge or, whatever place. A lot of companies used to host them, and you would have a couple of drinks or whatever, or a couple of appetizers, and you would network and you would pass your card around and you would get to know people. It's very, very popular. Do they even do that nowadays? I don't know. Um, and that's what we would do. When social media came online, then obviously people started networking via social media. So professionals, again, we use LinkedIn, which I'm about to talk about, but we network. Network is not, back in the day, well, I guess, the bougie, golf course, you know, cigar smoking, chatting it up, making deals. They still do that. That's why they like to golf, FYI. But networking is also online. You have to get to know people. It's not about you building friendships. That's not what business is about. I mean, you can just look at what's happening in the news and see you don't have to be friends to make money, right? But networking is about who you know, and who you know again does not have to be personal. It does not have to be best friends. It can be you guys in here. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know each other, but let's just think about it. You've seen each other's name, at least. I mean, I guess some of you pay attention to whose name is here and whose name, so it may be familiar to you. Let's say all of you guys get a LinkedIn account and you connect to each other. Hint, hint, at minimum, start your LinkedIn account and connect to the people in your class. Now, let's say a year from now, all of you are employed, but let's say one or two of you are looking for a job. If you notice, let's say Christian notices that Diego has posted that his company is looking for someone, right? And let's just pretend they're in the same field. Now, if Christian reaches out to Diego and say, "Hey, Diego, you may or may not remember me from Southern Tech, but I was in your career prep class. I see you guys have a position open." Now, let's say Christian and Diego, they connected to each other after the class. Maybe Diego has posted a couple things on his LinkedIn account. Christian has given him a couple of thumbs up here and there. So maybe he's responded to some stuff. And so then he reaches out to him. What's the likelihood that Diego would say, "Yeah, man, here's the person that you should reach out to," or "Give me your resume"? Give me your thumbs up if you think it would be highly likely that Diego would do that. He barely knows Christian, but he does remember him from Southern Tech. Diego, no thumbs up. Let me tell you guys, it is a high, thank you, Diego. It is a high, look at the two guys that did it. Okay. It is a high probability that Diego would. Like, who wouldn't? Why would he not? Right? Because even though Christian may be a stranger, he's not a complete stranger, is he? Right? It's very different from some nobody that Diego's never heard of reaching out to him and saying, "Hey, could you pass my resume along?" As opposed to Christian doing it, because at least, Diego's like, "Okay, I do remember Christian." That's networking. That's all networking is, guys. Networking is not, I know how many kids you have and where you grew up. Is none of that stuff. Can it be that stuff? Absolutely. But a lot of networking just has to be getting over the you're a stranger. Going from I'm a stranger to I know you is very, very simple. And people network with people that they know, and knowing can be very social. I want to say very superficial, but it can be very social. The number of times, the number of referrals I've done, the number of references I've done, passing on information to jobs to people is countless. I still have people when I used to teach in Africa reaching out to me. When I used to teach in New York, when I worked in New York, they reach out to me. I just did a reference I mean, he and I did keep in touch, but I worked with 15 years ago. So I'm just telling you, networking is key. If you do not think networking is important in building your career, then you really, really do not understand how the business world works. Don't think just because you're starting your career out in Florida that you're going to end up in Florida. How many people are looking to move outside of Florida? Give me a thumbs up if Florida's not going to be your home forever. So, and if it's not, then you're really going to have to start thinking about networking, because what if a job takes you to Hawaii or Nebraska or Washington State? Like, a lot of times once you work your way up, that can be a very real thing. Make sense? Now, all right, we got to talk about X. I hate to talk about it nowadays because I rest in peace Twitter. I used, I wasn't a big Twitter person, but Twitter used to be the go-to place for news, guys. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but it used to be the premier go-to place for news. Anybody remember back when Twitter was like a real news station? And every company would post on Twitter. They would they would put everything that was happening to their company on Twitter, right? It used to be almost like the New York Times. Like, people would go to Twitter and you could find everything that was happening, non-biased. Just, obviously there's some crap out there, but for the most part, it was reputable. X, I don't even know what to say. X to me, just from a straight professional standpoint, is like a weird Facebook social media account now. I personally don't recommend it in its current state because I think it's too much propaganda on it. I'm a very impartial person. Anybody ever been in the military know that we don't really care about that kind of stuff. But for me, like, listen, people's personal opinions I don't really care about. But I just like facts. And and you go on there, it's be very difficult to find any real professional journalism nowadays. So it's in the thank you. It's in the book, but I'm not going to personally recommend it. Use it at your own risk. And I'm just talking from a professional standpoint. Now, if you use it personally, that's another story. You're in charge, you're adults with personal stuff. But professional, yeah, I would just say watch it. Maybe it'll turn a corner and get back to that. But back in the day, it used to be so professional. Everyone had accounts. My company had accounts. I had an account there. I wouldn't post anything on there to save my life now, but there you go. But anyway, X is an option for those that care to use it. Um, Instagram. Now, one thing I am going to say about Instagram, here is where I definitely would start a professional account. Many of you may have personal accounts, and that's fine, but you can have more than one account, especially if you start working for the company and maybe want to use your company's email. A lot of companies will even ask you to set up social media accounts. Like, I'm on the fence about that because I don't like mixing personal and professional. And a lot of times as a consultant, I want to promote myself. I don't want to promote some business, you know, but that's neither here nor there. But I definitely would suggest that you have both a personal and professional account. Now, if you have a personal account, but you haven't really posted anything too much, you know, that is too private and you want to use it and make it more professional, then I would definitely say do that. You know, you'll see a lot of people doing that. And all professional means is that you just keep the personal stuff to a minimum. That's all that means. You know, don't link to too much um personal friends and stuff, because obviously people can you know go through all that. But you know, and if that's what you want to use, and some people do because they have family that is out of the country, across the you know across the nation, however, you know, you need that, then I would suggest that you have two separate accounts. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right. Now, at the end of the day, you know, you do want to be positive. Hopefully, I'm not scaring you off from using social media. I think it is a must. It is definitely a must, at least a LinkedIn. You will be setting up your LinkedIn account. I think it is today. If anyone has any issues with setting up that LinkedIn account, there is a video there. You can always reach out to me. And remember, you can always delete it afterwards, but that is something that you will be doing. I personally say you need it at minimum. Link to all your classmates. I encourage you to link to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You know, it is your time to network. There is no time like the present. All of my students, I probably have over, I don't know, a couple of hundred students that have gone through this course that has connected to me. And if you connect to me, you can find them all on LinkedIn. And like I said, it's a great way to look for a job. All right. So here is your question for today. I want you to name at least 3 places and or people you may use to grow your network. So what does that mean? Well, obviously I already gave you an example, right? You can do 3 classmates, right? Maybe you might say, well, I can do my classmate, my instructor, and my brother because he has his own business. Or if it's places, maybe you may think of a company, right? I want you to name 3 that you would do. All right, let me give you a sec. And which are you using now? If some of you are, you know, currently connected, let me know. Let me give you a second to write this down. All right. All right, my friends, good luck on your mock interviews. Please try to get the work done as soon as possible. If anybody needs anything open from week 2, let me know now, so you can turn in any outstanding work. Most people that have come here are pretty good. You don't need it, but if you need it, my friends, if you are on this and you're not turning in your participation question for credit, I don't know what to say. I mean, do you want me to physically come to you and help you push that button and turn in this work? Turn in the work, turn in this question. How easy is it? I can't make it any easier. So you can get points. What are we doing here? All right. Let's finish strong. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, sir.